thank Maron for putting this on for us. Certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone today. Again, if you could put the questions in the little box there, and then I'll address everybody's questions at the end, and we'll go forward. We're going to start out with a short presentation, and then we're going to go right into a live demo. All right? As far as the agenda goes, we're going to talk about some of the challenges that companies are facing as far as virtualization goes and making sure that it's nice and secure. We'll actually go through the VGW solution. I'm going to spend the most amount of time on the actual architecture. There's something significantly different about Juniper's architecture compared to some of the other companies that are out there that are selling virtual firewall solutions. And that goes along with our performance. That's probably our big differentiator, so I'll talk about that. Briefly go through some key features and benefits that I'll go to a little bit more during the demo, a quick summary, and again at the end we'll do a demo for you. This is a pretty common slide. I'm sure you've seen something similar, if not the exact slide. This is put out by IDC. And what's happening now is customers are going and virtualizing most of their network. They're realizing a huge amount of capital savings. That's one of the big drivers of virtualization. As you know, you're not only reducing the amount of servers you need, you're reducing the power requirements, and you also have a little bit of OpEx savings as far as needing less data center space should you lease the space, or CapEx if you're actually building your own data center. So virtualization is going a long way in reducing capital outlay for companies. Some of the market dynamics, some of the things that are going on right now, you could read these. I'm not going to go through each one of these, but basically what this is saying is some of the big companies out there, Gartner, Forrester, virtualization is there. We all know it's there. I work with companies, some of them 90 to 98% virtualized. A lot of critical apps are now being virtualized. It's not just test environments, it's production environments, and it's obviously becoming paramount for companies right now. And once the company is virtualized, what are some of the things that they need to be concerned about? Well, obviously one of the biggest things is security. We think in the past that may have prevented some customers from virtualizing some of their network because they felt that the security just wasn't there. With solutions like VGW and inter-VM security, you're actually coming up with solutions that will protect those virtualized environments. What are some of the specific requirements that you have in a virtualized network that you might not have in a physical network? One of the biggest ones is vMotion. vMotion allows you to go from a secure to an unsecured zone at a moment's notice. You don't have to physically move that server anymore. With vMotion, you dynamically are moving from server to server. Hypervisor, you're creating a whole new operating system, a whole new attack surface when you're adding virtualization. Regulatory compliance doesn't change when in virtualized environment. Same thing in a physical environment. You need to isolate those VMs. You have PCI compliance, HIPAA. Same thing you need to do in a physical network. You need to do in a virtual network. And the last one is probably the one that we see the most, and that's separation of duties. What's happened with virtualized networks is the server team can pretty much light up a VM, and regardless of change policies and everything that you have internally, a lot of times the server team could light up that VM at a moment's notice, and you have to make sure that that VM is secure. So security teams have lost some visibility into what's happening in a virtualized network, and it's important to separate those duties and also give security teams visibility into the network. Some of the implications of virtualization. If you look at the diagram on the left-hand side, in a physical network, it's real simple. You have that firewall sitting, in a physical firewall sitting in front of your physical servers. In a virtual environment, it's just a little bit different. You have that physical firewall still in front of your host, the host representing that big box there, and then you have a virtual switch inside that host. The problem is that you create a blind spot. So you're going through the virtual switch as you communicate between VMs, but you're not going through the firewall. Now, what you can do is you still could go through that firewall and you could do VLAN physical segmentation. To me, to a lot of people out there, that's really not a security solution. You're segmenting your network, you're really not securing it. You also have performance degradation as you bring it through the firewall and back. You don't have visibility to actually what's sitting on those VMs. And you can do it that way. We have customers doing it, but as they grow their virtual networks, and as they experience not just VM sprawl, but VLAN sprawl, it just doesn't scale. And then they start looking at the solution I'm going to talk to you about today. You can also do put an actual firewall on each one of those VMs. Put a thick agent. Don't see as many customers doing that anymore. It just is a significant performance degradation. And although we do see customers still doing it, we don't see as many that are doing the VLAN segmentation. We think the best solution is to actually take and put in a virtual firewall, an inter-VM firewall, so you don't have to go out to that physical firewall and back in again, and it's giving you that inter-VM security. What does it look like? We actually sit, I failed to mention on a previous slide, we actually sit in the kernel versus at the security VM, and I'll show you another slide in another slide or two. But what does the architecture look like? If you look at box number 1, it's real simple. We have a security design. That's the actual management console. It's basically a VM that you could light on one of your physical servers that you're using for that you have the security VM loaded on it, or you could actually make that on its own server. That's totally up to you. If you look at the orange box and you go to, I don't see the circle number 2, but anyway, if you go to the orange box where it says VGW Security VM, this is basically a conduit between 1 and 3. We actually do all the firewalling in the kernel, and the firewalling is not done at the security VM. What that means to you as a customer is that we're running in fast path versus slow path. Now, if you do, we do allow you to add IDS or AV. If you do add IDS or AV, you actually that will be happening in the orange VM there, the security VM. But all your stateful firewalling is actually being done in the kernel, right there in box number 3. Again, very simple deployment. Again, you light up a VM for the management console. You light up a security VM that goes on each host. Very nominal computer requirements. And then we have a shim inside the kernel that provides the stateful firewalling. We are the only company out there that is doing it, that has this specific configuration, and again, this allows us to run in fast path. It's important to note that we have a very tight integration with vCenter. We use the VMsafe APIs, so there's no manual synchronization. We pull the entire inventory from vCenter, so we talk to vCenter in vCenter's language. No weak associations with the UUID, and it's totally automated deployment. So when a customer lights up a VM in vCenter, it automatically communicates to our VGW Design Center / Management Console. Putting the slide up quickly one more time because I want to actually talk about the actual flow of the traffic. Excuse me. So if you look at circle 1, that is our management console. Circle 2 is the security VM, and circle 3 is the actual VGW engine. I'm going to go to the next slide to give you a little better representation here because it's not as clear on the other slide. We actually have the firewall, the stateful firewall sits in the actual kernel, and we have a policy assigned, an inbound and an outbound policy assigned to each individual VM. So you have your security design who talks through that security VM to the firewall that sits in the kernel, but the firewalling is not being done at the security VM. The firewalling it's actually a bump in the wire. So when VM1 wants to talk to VM2, you have an outbound policy on VM1. As long as it accepts that outbound policy, then you go through, hit the firewall. VM2 has its own inbound and outbound policy, and it goes back up the wire in order to be able to talk to VM2. So you have that firewall that sits in front of the switch, so that blind spot that you had previously is now eliminated. And again, I know I keep beating a dead horse, but the firewalling is being done in the kernel versus at the security VM. The only thing that security VM is being used for is a conduit from the management console to the firewall that sits in the kernel. So for example, your policies, your security policies, or what have you, are what's communicated. It's the communication conduit between the two. You could, if you want to send your logs out to NetFlow or any syslog tools that you may be using, we have APIs that allow you to send those logs out to an external device. That's what most customers are doing. You can't collect logs inherent with our solution, but the majority of customers are sending it to an external syslog tool. What does this mean? The fact that we do run in fast path versus slow path, and we're doing the firewalling in the kernel, it has a significant impact on performance. This is a live test that we did in a 35 gig environment. If you look at the unsecured network, the green line at the top, if you add VGW, you have about a 6 to 7% performance impact nominal, all the way up to 32 VMs. And I actually have customers that are running 70 VMs per host. I'm more than happy to have you talk to them to give you an idea of the kind of performance and a nominal impact that you have when you're adding VGW. At the bottom, you have competitor 1 and competitor 2, again, who are doing the firewalling through that security VM. And you look at it here, it's about a 90% plus performance impact. So what this is going to do is, if you add security, you really don't want to, the whole idea of adding security, you don't want to reduce your performance and then have to add additional servers and not get the compression ratios that you're looking for by adding security. You want it to have a nominal performance impact as it can, and with our solution it does. Okay, give you a look here at the dashboard, and then I'm just going to touch on this briefly and go through a little more detail during the demo. But you have your main dashboard. That'll give you your frontline view into everything within the solution. You have your firewall module. This is where you set up your firewall policy, your management, your logs. AV, you have full AV protection for your VMs that could be added with the solution. Compliance, this is really a nice tool that we've added. So think of compliance not just PCI compliance or HIPAA compliance or some of the other compliance. Think of it as your own internal compliance. Maybe you want to set a gold standard, and you want every new VM that is added, you want to be attributable to this gold standard. You can do that. And if that new VM is added and it doesn't meet that gold standard, it'll send an alert. Very nice part of the solution. We have a network component. This basically gives you inter-VM traffic flows. So if you have one VM that's taking too many compute resources, you can move things around, what have you. And this will give you an idea of your internal traffic flows for the network team. IDS. IDS is an available add-on with the solution. So you could go down, drill down on any attacks, it's based on signatures, it's based on the source snort solution, and so anything that you can add IDS with the product. Introspection, this is a really nice feature. This will give you visibility, which you're not going to get if you're doing VLAN segmentation. This is going to give you a snapshot of actually what is sitting on those hosts. So you'll get an idea of what's sitting on those hosts. Are you up to date on your patching and what have you? And this will give security nice visibility into that, which you're not going to get, again, with VLAN segmentation. We have a full reporting module that's included with the product. We have templates, and you could also do customized reports as well. Again, this is your network visibility. On the left-hand side, that's your navigation pane. So right now you're looking at all machines. You could actually go into your policy groups and drill down into that as well. This will give you your top talkers in a graphical view. and then you could just click on any one of those machines and get a more detailed information on your traffic flows. Your firewall, this is pretty basic firewall module here. You could add your inbound, outbound policies, your source, your destination. If you want to quarantine any of your VMs, you have the ability to do that and create your own rule set. You could go all the way down to the VNIC. That's something we recently added. So if you want to go all the way down to the VNIC, you can, and really nice firewall set there. Antivirus, we do on demand and also on access. On access is real time. On demand is basically whenever you'd want to do that. We allow each one of those solutions. On access is through the security VM. On demand is outside the security VM. Both of them are excellent solutions and available with the product. Again, this is an actual screenshot of the antivirus. You have your dashboard there for quick understanding of what's going on in the network. So you look at your current AV configuration distribution there. So you have on access, on demand, and then you go to the right. If you look at the right of that circle there, you actually have the VM, and I'll give you an idea of right there, that VDI workstation is infected right now, and then you could quarantine it if you want, shut it down, or whatever you want to do. You have all kinds of options once you realize something is infected. Again, introspection. This is my favorite part of the solution. You're going to basically be able to go in and have the ability to scan your virtual disk, understand what OS, your applications, and your registry values. Again, you could create a gold image if you so desire, and making sure that your VMs fit that gold image. Excellent solution, and again, giving security visibility into something that you may not have had, security may not have had visibility in previously. Very nice feature set to just make sure that you have the right operating systems, you have the right patching and everything on each one of those machines. Smart groups. What smart groups allow you to do is automatically assign, as those VMs are added, smart groups will allow you to automatically assign those VMs into a certain group. You could create as many smart groups as you wish. You could have more than one smart group, and so you could have a VM that could belong to 2 or 3 different smart groups. You could create a VDI smart group. You could create a HR smart group, whatever the case may be. So you basically apply these definitions. If you look on the left-hand side, you apply these definitions. As soon as a VM is added, if they fit those definitions, they automatically get assigned to that specific smart group. Another nice feature of the solution. Compliance, kind of touched on this. Again, think of this. You could think of this as your standard compliance, PCI, HIPAA, what have you. But also you could create your own compliance checks. And if anything is not compliant, you have a graphical view there. And then once you realize which of your VMs are non-compliant, you could drill down. If you look at that on the right-hand side there, in that box, you could actually drill down and figure out, and I'm going to go through this on the demo, why something may be out of compliance. Reporting, standard reports, PDF, CSV. We have some good report templates, and you could also do customized reports as well. We do have some integration with SRX. We could take, and it's not full integration right now, but there is a level of integration. So you could take your zones on your SRX, and we call them smart groups within VGW, and you can communicate between the smart groups and the zones. The only thing we do not have right now is a single management console to manage both of these, but there is some interaction between SRX and VGW. If not sure if you're using our STRM product for log aggregation, you could use STRM or virtually any log aggregation tool that you're using right now. but we do have full integration with Storm, but again, we have APIs and integrate with other solutions as well. This is kind of what we're getting to. Many of you, if you're a Juniper customer, have probably seen this slide. Where everything is, the whole thought process is everything is going to be centrally managed through Juno Space. Right now we have security design, which manages a majority of our security products outside VGW. We are going to be adding the switching infrastructure, the IPS, and then everything will be managed through Juno Space. We expect that to be the end of the year, but if you're not aware, if you're existing security customers, existing Juniper security customers, we did just release a new version of security design, so we do have some good integration there with security design for the physical firewalls now. Some industry recognition. Basically, I put this up just to show you that we are getting some industry recognition out there. I actually attended VMworld. We were a finalist. There were over 200 nominees for this award. We came in second place. I actually, tell you the truth, don't recognize the company that won, a smaller company, but we did get second out of over 200 companies. Got awards at RSA in 2010 and 2011. This is a really, really neat product, and I'm probably not conveying it as great over webinars as they do in person, but this is there's nothing else out there right now. You know, the fact that we run a fast pass, some of the things that we've added as far as compliance and introspection, some of the other features that we have. Encourage, if it's a solution that you're looking at, I encourage you to bring us in for a bake-off, because we will outperform anything else that's out there. This will give you an idea of some of the customers that are already using our solution. We have a lot of higher ed, a lot of government, and if you got the Army and the Navy using your product, and you know it's pretty secure and it's highly recommended. We have some financial firms that are using our solution, and some retail and other firms as well. This product it could pretty much cross any vertical and give you the solution that you need. Here is kind of a summary of again the overall Juniper solution. Don't want to spend a huge amount of time on this, but just kind of want to give you an idea of what our thought process was, why Juniper went out and purchased VGW. You've heard of Juno Space, I'm sure. That's the operating system that we're going to have all of our entire platform on, and everything's going to be on Junos, on the same operating system, so you don't have to worry about crossing operating systems. You can have your physical, your virtual, and everything, again, managed through the Junos platform. In conclusion, before I go over the demo, again, VGW is purpose-built. It was from the very beginning, and I think that's why some of the other competitors out there have not caught up. From the very beginning, this solution was a virtual firewall. If you don't know the history, Juniper purchased a company by the name of Altor about 1.5 years ago. Altor, from the very beginning, that's all they did was a virtual firewall. So it was, from the very beginning, built for performance and built for a virtual environment versus building a firewall for a physical environment and then trying to build a firewall for a virtual environment. So it's got a complete set of visibility. It's not only security but visibility. We talked about compliance. We talked about introspection. So not only are you securing that virtual environment, but you're also getting visibility that you just don't get with running it through physical firewalls. And it's part of the overall Juniper data center story. So we're extending it from the outside all the way to the inside, and it's part of the overall, fulfills the overall Juniper story. I just want to touch on something real quick. It wasn't the purpose of the presentation today, but you may have heard that Juniper purchased a company by the name of Mykonos. That is allowing us to have a solution out there. It's intrusion deception technology versus intrusion prevention, or versus a traditional WAF, not based on signatures. And that's another another solution I highly recommend, especially if you're a retail environment, that you take a look at. So anyway, it wasn't a purpose for today, but just wanted to mention that briefly. I'm going to, I don't know if you have any questions, Diana, but I'm going to stop showing my screen for a second while I pull up the demo. But if you have any questions, I could try and answer them while I'm doing that.
Looks like there's no questions so far, but if anyone has any questions, go ahead and chat them to me, and I'll send them over to John.
Just give me a second, Diana. I'm a little hosed up here. Give me 1 second. Okay, can everybody see that? Can you see that, Diana?
Yeah.
Diana, can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. This is the dashboard view. So the way this works, again, I mentioned how you could set up smart groups. So the way this works is you start out at the highest level. So you have an all machines policy, and then under all machines, if you look at the left-hand side there, you actually create policy groups. And so you could create a global policy. Maybe you want to create a default policy, so any new VM that's added, if you don't have a policy assigned to it, you give it a default policy. Maybe you have a quarantine policy. So if a VM's added and has a certain feature on it that you don't want to put into your network, maybe you quarantine it. Maybe your web servers, they have their own policy. Your database servers have their own policy. DMZ, your client VMs, whatever the case may be. So again, you start at the highest level, all machines, and you have policy groups, and you have security policies that you created for these smart groups under policy groups. So that's how it looks there at the dashboard level. When I was going through the presentation, I talked about network. Okay, so again, this gives you an idea of the communication between your machines. So if you look here, you have your web server, your database server. You have your development database server, your DB1, your web server 2, and web server 1. So this, again, you have a graphical representation here. So here at the top, the yellow line, you got your web server. That's kind of your biggest talker right now. If you want to figure out why that machine is so active, all you need to do is go into, double click, and I'll actually go into and give you more detail on that specific server by time of day. So give you an idea of the connection, number of connections by time of day. So you pretty much get into as much detail as you want as far as your network communication goes. I mentioned IDS. I'm going to go back to all machines. Sorry, it's a little slow today. We're actually doing a Dow company in Canada that we've been working with for a year and a half. We have a big presentation there today, and they're doing a demo, so that's why it's a little bit slow. So we actually, if you look right now as I go in IDS, you see how you see no data found? So you're probably figuring out why don't we see any data there. You go in your settings, and what the settings are going to do is they're actually going to tell you everything about the machines. So for example, that machine didn't have IDS on it. So if you want to figure out, if you want to know exactly what your existing setting is, you go into settings, and for example, vCenter integration. This will tell you what your vCenter settings are, how it integrates specifically with your security design, any deleted VMs. This is very, very important in the scenarios where you want to know if your server administrator is deleting any VMs. Security needs to have vision into that. Why did you delete that VM? So you're going to know if a specific VM is deleted from vCenter, you're going to know that within security design, and you could apply a policy to that. If you want to do automatic startup, in case you want to enable or disable automatic startup when the server goes down, you can. As far as updating VMs, you connect to the vCenter server, you retrieve those VMs, and then you update your actual IP addresses or what have you inside security design. So this is what basically your setting screen is, where you basically apply all the different policy. Multi-center, we're not using multi-center right now. That's something I didn't touch on in the presentation, but what multi-center will allow you to do, basically the ratio is one security design to one vCenter. But if you have a single vCenter that is managing 3 or 4 different data centers, what our multi-center configuration will allow you to do is break out your VGW design center just like you would your vCenter, so you don't need 3 or 4 different VGW design centers. Here's installation. So this is where you actually take and move your items from a secured to an unsecured. So the way we set up the demo is demo 2 here is unsecured, and then you have vdemo 2 is secured, so you could change this back and forth between your secured and unsecured network. So this will give you an idea of what is secured within your network and what is unsecured. Your install settings. This will actually take, if you want to create templates, so you have your VM safe template here. So if you want to create templates for your firewalls, you can in this section here. If you want to automatically secure your VMs, if you look at the way we set up the demo, is we don't have any of the VMs automatically secured. But in your scenario, when you're deploying this, in most cases, you're going to want to automatically secure a VM when it's added, and this is where this will allow you to do that. I mentioned you have a policy per VNIC. On this screen here, you could see where your VNIC policy is assigned to. Administrators, you could tie this into Active Directory if you like, or you could create a global administrator that has read, write access, and then you create admins under the global administrator with read-only access again, or you could create it under Active Directory if you like. Totally up to you. All right, let's see, what else here? Any questions on this, on the settings side? I know we said wait for questions to the end, but are there any questions on the settings side before I go through some of these other modules? Good, okay. All right, here is your compliance screen. Our global policy, we're 100% compliant, but let's actually go through and go right here. through this DB1 VM. And so if you go through this specific VM right here, DB1, we're about 55% compliant. And why are we not compliant? You can go through here, through each one of these names here and figure out. So if you look here, we're firewalled. We're not allowing backdoor communications. We have native VLAN. We have promiscuous mode. Boom, we're good there. Now, right here, we're not compliant. Let's look at why we're not compliant. So this will give you an idea here if you want to add any rules or delete any rules. So these are the rules that we've added in order to be compliant within that specific rule set. We are, for whatever, I can't click on this, the demo won't allow me to do this, but we have a rule base that basically is not being, when that VM was added, that rule base is not being, it doesn't fit that rule base within that group. And since it does not fit that rule base, it's considered non-compliant. Introspection, touched on that during the presentation. Again, this will allow you to actually take, this is an all machines view here. If you want to break it out and look at this specific VM. Okay, we're actually not doing a scan there. I'm going to try to go this route. So again, this will give you an idea here. Out of our 14 VMs that we have, we scanned 2 out of the 14, and they're 100% compliant. Here is the AV screen here. So this will give you your configuration. On the left-hand side, the circle here. This will, on the right-hand side, this will tell you your actual protected VMs. So these VMs, 2 of the VMs we're doing on access. So VDI client 1, VDI client 2, we're doing on access. The rest of the VMs we're just doing on demand at a specific interval. If you look at, we mentioned previously that www2 is infected. So if we go through www2, this will give you the detail on www2. So we have some malware there. We also have some virus that is sitting on that machine. So that'll give you an idea of what's happening there on that specific machine. Let's see, firewall. Right now, again, the left-hand tree is what we're seeing here on the right-hand side. So again, we're looking at the web server 2 there, and you have your global policy. You have 2 roles assigned to your global policy. Then you have your group policies, and you have your group policies assigned within. Remember, I was mentioning smart groups. This is where you're creating your smart groups right here. So you have your global policy, and then you have group policies. So if you look at this specific web server here, it belongs to 3 different groups. It belongs to your web server group, belongs to your IT VM group, and also obviously belongs to your VGW demo group. So remember I mentioned previously you have smart groups, and you dynamically allocate VMs to specific smart groups. It starts out at the highest level, so it starts out at your global policy, and then it goes from there. So again, your VMs could be assigned to more than one group dynamically. You have inbound, in addition to inbound policies, obviously you have outbound policies as well. This one has the same exact thing. You have a global, this specific VM has a global policy, one rule assigned to that, and then it's assigned to 3 groups and has 3 group policies under. It's assigned to 3 different groups and then has a rule assigned to each group. Questions? Let's see, what else can I show you? I showed you introspection, IDS, firewall. As we'll go through reports. So we're going to go www. I'm sorry. So we're going to create the name of the report, give it a description, customize it, and then print out the report. Again, we could do it PDF or CSV, either one. We could create an executive summary. We could do it on a reporting schedule. If you look here on scheduling, we could do it day of week, monthly, whatever the case may be. And we could also pretty much, we have templates for you to use. We have a nice PCI template, or you could create your own customized report, however you want to do it. I'm going to go through here real quick, and I'm going to go through this. I have a few more minutes here. I want to go through this settings screen one more time, just to kind of, I feel like I glossed over a few things, and I want to just go through this one more time. This first screen here, this is your actual status screen. So if you look at the right-hand side, you're going to apply your serial number when you get your license key. This is going to tell you how many how many security VMs you purchased. So you purchased 20 security VMs, 20 antivirus VMs. You have 4 in use on the antivirus, 4 in use on the security VM. You have a management console in use, and then you have IDS as well. So basically you have everything. You have your security VM, IDS, and AV assigned to that as well. I'm going to go through here. I didn't touch on the actual security setting. Let's spend a second here. Okay, so here is your actual, remember how I said that you have your global and then you have your different groups within your global settings. So here's the global policy that you've set up for pretty much all your traffic. So for example here, everything you're sending to Wireshark. So Wireshark, so anything in your global policy is being sent to Wireshark. On your external logging, you're sending your firewall logs. You're not using a syslog server. You're sending everything to your VGW management server. A lot of cases here, you're probably going to send your syslog. You're going to probably send it to a syslog tool. But this is where you would actually take and create your external logging. Again, for your global policy, you could do it all the way down to your VM by VM if you like. Here's your setting rules. You can allow multicast and broadcast. And then here's your NetFlow configuration. So if you're sending records to a NetFlow collector, here's the port you're sending it to. And that's setting it up from a global standpoint. Here is your actual security VM settings. So we have, again, if you remember that previous screen on the settings section, it told us that we had 2 SVMs. So we know we have 2 SVMs. What are they protecting? So each one of these SVMs, SVM3 and SVM4, are each protecting 5 VMs. So you have that security. If you remember that picture I showed you, you have the security VM on the left-hand side, and then you have your VMs to the right. Each one of these security VMs are on one host representing, so you have a compression ratio of 5:1 in this demo. Again, I have customers that are running anywhere upwards of 70:1. but this will just give you an idea. Now this will also, you could drill in here. If you remember previously, some of these names that we had on the left-hand tree at our main dashboard, this shows you the actual VMs that are protected by that specific SVM and what host that's residing on. So that gives you a little more detail than you got on that front screen. Antivirus settings. So right now this is set to, we've enabled antivirus, and we're going to update our signatures every 5 minutes. And then basically pretty simple. Here's IDS. So again, we've enabled IDS. We've just updated, if you look at the update status, just updated the signatures at 8:19 this morning. Again, I think I mentioned previously, currently this will eventually be integrated into our IDP solution, but right now this is based on Snort IDS. IDS signatures, nothing major there, pretty much the same screen. Okay, so this would give you the different signature groups and the rule set assigned to each one of those signatures. Again, some people may not find it useful. The security admin certainly does, but this, I mean, look at this, the amount of rules on the back door. We have almost 1,120 rules as far as letting any backdoor information into our network. Let's see, is there anything, we got about 7 minutes. I'm probably not the best at this demo. Hopefully you've gotten some use out of it. But is there any questions that you have either on the demo or the presentation? Is there anything I haven't been able to answer? Do you understand the design? Did I touch enough on smart groups and being able to dynamically allocate your VMs into specific smart groups? Let's say I talked about introspection. Pretty much I've talked about everything on my end. Are you sure there's no questions? Anything you want to see on the dashboard? Anything?
We can hang around for a few more minutes. If anyone has any questions, go ahead and unmute yourself or go ahead and chat them into the log and we can get them answered. If you have really specific questions too, we'll send out follow-up emails, and I'll include John's information on them so you guys can go ahead and ask him the questions if you'd like. All right, well thank you, John, for presenting today.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then we'll stick around for a few minutes if anyone has any questions. Thanks for joining.